I'm very respectful of the opportunity my family and I have had to live here. We believe very much in making tomorrow a better day today. It's very important for my family to give back to this community.
Pop culture has become obsessed with entrepreneurship stories from Silicon Valley and big startup. But the backbone of our economy is made of small, local businesses. Every day, millions of small business owners deliver quality products and services, support the local economy, employ their neighbors, and follow their passion. We think their stories are worth telling. I'm Angela Giovine. Welcome to the Extraordinary Small Business Podcast. This episode is brought to you by ClickFunnels. Today on the show, Fred Beans shares over 60 years of small business owner wisdom with us. What started with one service station in 1959 has blossomed into the Fred Beans family of dealerships. Raised on a farm, neither his entry into the automotive world nor his success were a guarantee, or even likely. Yet here he stands, 81 years old, strong as ever, and made ever more successful by joining forces with his children. Fred Beans has built himself a family of car dealerships that are not only successful, but pillars in their community. We are sitting here in your office in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. Why don't you tell me a little bit about your business?
Well, I guess we're primarily an automobile dealer, and we have 20 rooftops. So we employ about 1,750 people today. We have 6 collision centers. We have a large parts wholesale business with about 95 trucks on the road, 275 employees. We have 2 auto parts stores, an auto rent, and 2 auto express quick service operations, and we represent all the domestic products and quite a few of the imports.
Wow. I mean, and that is such a vast footprint that you have with all of those employees and different brands. Where did you start? Did you start from one business?
During World War II, either 2 things happened to you on a farm. You either loved cows or farm equipment, and I loved farm equipment, and cars were popular because they were just coming into their own after the war. We didn't have television, so it was a big thing when a new car came out.
So when you grew up on the farm, your parents were farmers, your father was a farmer, or?
My mother and father were farmers.
Okay, what did they farm?
We farmed all the hard-working things. We raised chickens on the 2nd floor, and asparagus, corn, potatoes, string beans, peas. They called those truck farms. I would call them a working man's farm. You know, America was supplied by small farmers.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you didn't want to follow in the family footsteps of farming. How early on did you know that that was probably not your path?
Well, my dad had most farmers had part-time jobs.
Oh, really?
And my father sold farm equipment.
Oh, okay.
It also sold Oldsmobiles and Cadillacs. And then after cars became more available, that dealership built a separate dealership. And I would go with my dad at night when he worked and on Saturdays. While going to college, I worked in a service station part-time, and I bought that service station on August the 4th, 1959, and I was my only employee. I needed money to buy it. My dad was a director in a small bank, and he said, if I co-sign a note for you and you go broke, it won't look good. He said, but I'll tell you what, it's not a bad idea. It's a way for you to get a start. Your mom will go with you on Monday. And my mother co-signed a note for $5,500.
And that's how you purchased the service station?
Yes.
So you started to work at that service station as a college student, and the person who owned it at that time didn't want to own it anymore and said, I'll sell it to you.
I guess his wife didn't like the business and the hours. So that's the reason I got the opportunity to buy it.
How old were you at that time?
I was basically the Sinclair Oil Company, and I guess they thought I was older than I was. I was 20 years old.
You were 20.
And I started there with just one employee. I worked 7 days a week, but I always had this vision of growing. And what I did is I accumulated a little bit of money. I went to different factories and they weren't too receptive to a guy in a gas station with no experience. But I then met a gentleman from Oldsmobile who liked me, and he sort of gave me some insight. And I used to go home every Thursday afternoon, put a suit and tie on, and go knock on dealers that had no children or had children but didn't want to be in the business and should leave.
That's really unconventional.
Then I was fortunate to get to know a gentleman in Newtown whose father got sick, and he quit law school to come home and save the family business. So I used to go maybe one night a week and go up to the dealership in Newtown and hang around. And I thought he was a hero. 72, I went to see him, and I spent a little bit of Saturday with him, and they were setting up down at the auto show, and he sort of, I want to have dinner with my wife and you and your wife tomorrow night. And I shook hands with him on a Saturday night and showed up on a Monday as a 25% partner waiting on Ford approval. And he gave me every opportunity to learn everything I could and grow.
What do you think made him want to give you that opportunity that day?
I think it was very hard to find people in those days with the drive, and I think he trusted me. I think he felt that I was a hard worker. And when I went to work there, I used to be there at 7:30 in the morning, work in the service department, run home, change my clothes, and come back and work in a showroom. That kind of work ethic makes the rest of it easy.
Right, right. And you were doing all of this on top of the service stations that you owned.
No, I called 5 of the employees that worked for me at my house, wrote them all little bonus checks, shook hands with the gentleman that came to apply for the job on his bicycle part-time, maybe 6 years prior to that, shook hands with him, no agreement, and sold him the business for $1,000 a month for 55 months.
Wow. Okay, so you sort of exited the service station business.
Yeah. And then in 75, I got the opportunity to come to Doylestown on my own. I always had this belief that if we standardized how we did things and we developed operating manuals and we found good mentors, we could develop other people under us and we could expand through the employees that came to work for us and help them reach their dreams. And that's been quite successful for me.
I mean, what a risk you took. You had a business that was successful, but you said, this isn't where I want to end my dream. And you took another risk. That had to take a lot of courage.
I think if you want to do something bad enough, you try to figure out a way. And I've always believed that I got where I was at because even in the service station, somebody gave me that opportunity.
You just celebrated your 80th birthday, and I read that you did 100 push-ups to celebrate your 80th birthday.
Yeah. Actually, something I worked up to because I started with a personal trainer when I was 70 years old, so I joke with him because this is going to be our 11th Christmas together.
So is that something that you would say has been a key to your success? It seems like you're someone who puts a goal out for yourself and then does anything possible to achieve it.
I've always thought that, and I had a school teacher, as a matter of fact, I called him up a couple weeks ago, 93 years old, and he was always about seeking out mentors. And that's something I've done. I've tried to seek out mentors in my life, and many mentors, I want to pass it on. You don't have to actually meet or know. You just have to read about them, like Vince Lombardi and George Patton, Ben Franklin. There were some real heroes, Thomas Jefferson, George Washington. So I became a very avid reader. And I believe that if mind can conceive it, the body can do it. And the last thing my daughter said when I went home to do the push-ups, the mind will give out before the body. And I sort of believe that's true.
Are there times in your business where you felt like you had to put mind over matter to get to the next level in your business?
Well, I went through the energy crunch back 74 and 75 when you couldn't buy gas. In 79, the next crunch came for gasoline. And I can remember going a whole Saturday without selling a car. And I thought, geez, everything I work for is really in danger. And as a matter of fact, probably the reason I'm here today is the crunch of 3 and 4 left this dealership almost broke, and that's how I got the opportunity to buy it. We got things going pretty well. Our relationship with banks is so important in this business. And we were a very loyal customer to a bank, and that bank decided in '08 and '09 to run for the hills.
Oh, really?
So we were left without a banking relationship. And thank God we had romanced a lot of banks, spoke to a lot of bankers, but we never got up the food chain high enough. And a bank came along named Huntington Bank. And at this point, I was just about to give up. And they wanted to at least look at us. And I said, we have a little board of directors, which is made up of a few of our key people, not a real board, but an advisory board. I met with my congressman. He was a help. In the same time, General Motors had the bankruptcy in Chrysler, and we lost 2 Saturn stores, 2 Pontiac stores, and Saab. And that was all by a FedEx envelope, multiple ones on the same day. And that was scary. But anyway, I said to the bank, and it's an old farmer saying, I want to talk to the horse that has a bit in her mouth, that we're committed. We're not just a piece of paper. And with that, they came out and they looked at us and they kept us at 3 percentage points over normal bank rates, but anything to survive. So that was, I couldn't even take a walk down the street because all I could think about was we don't deserve to go bankrupt.
No, and that wasn't that long ago.
It wasn't long ago. And had it not been for Huntington Bank and a gentleman named Steve Steinhauer, I wouldn't be sitting here today, and I'll never forget it.
Needless to say, there were many times over your long career where there were inflection points, where there were times where you might have closed up shop, but you were found a way, you worked outside the box, you found people to make it happen.
I've been very fortunate that pretty fussy individual and always had a very, very good vision. I can't draw very well, but I have a good vision of how things ought to appear. And I happen to believe that we have to stay true to our convictions. We have to have a plan and work the plan. And mentors that I've never met, I think that's important in our lives.
I first stumbled across ClickFunnels probably 4 or 5 years ago. And at first I thought, cool software, but I don't think I need this for my company. But the founder, Russell Brunson, he is relentless when it comes to serving entrepreneurs. I eventually found his podcast and I found the ClickFunnels online community, which was the gateway to all things ClickFunnels. Funnel Flicks, Funnel University, his books, Marketing Secrets, Expert Secrets, and now Traffic Secrets. And of course, Funnel Hacking Live, his amazing 1,000-person plus live event. I realized that I could really use this funnel methodology for my local business with some of my existing products and services. And so a few years ago, I started to try it out. I experimented with a number of different funnels, and to my surprise, money started flying in. A couple super important things about online sales. One, it's powerful because it's scalable. Your revenue potential goes way up, and it's really only limited by your audience size. And number two, it works for traditional brick and mortar businesses. I work with many traditional businesses, and I have been counseling them for years that every traditional business can benefit from additional revenue streams online. And now, more than ever, that has become not only obvious, but necessary. That's where ClickFunnels comes in. The team at ClickFunnels has built this amazing drag and drop software for creating sales funnels that's literally easy enough for anyone. If you have a business, if you have bricks and mortar, if you have an online store, if you have a service-based business, if you have a side hustle, if you are thinking about any of those things, then you should go try ClickFunnels. And right now, I have a ridiculous offer for you. If you go to extraordinarysmallbusiness.com/ClickFunnels and sign up for the One Funnel Away Challenge, you'll receive literally everything you need to start supercharging your business online. This introductory offer is valued at $3,126, but you get it for $100. That's extraordinarysmallbusiness.com/ClickFunnels to receive 30 days of training, coaching, a customized toolkit, a workbook, and actual interviews with people who have made over $1 million each on sales funnels through ClickFunnels. So head to extraordinarysmallbusiness.com/ClickFunnels and sign up today. That's extraordinarysmallbusiness.com/ClickFunnels. Now, you mentioned your daughters a few times. You have many members of your family working here in the business, correct?
I have three daughters. One operates our fleet department and does a great job. The other one has auto rent, which is basically her company, and operates several hundred rental cars. And my daughter is vice president. And I'd say that she's the true visionary, capable of probably taking this company to the next step. I have a son-in-law that's very active, and he'll undoubtedly soon take my place as I sort of step aside and slow down. I think he's in that role today. And my daughter's guidance. It's very important for my family to give back to this community.
Certainly. I've noticed you're very involved in the community. How has that affected both your personal life and your business? I would imagine that being involved in the community has really made your business part of this community.
My dad told me something I never forgot. I was 9 years old in 1948. And I'm lucky to be my age, incidentally, and have all my faculties.
Yeah.
And I think my mind might be overstuffed, but I think it works pretty well. And he told me in 1948, I never forgot it, he said, "You'll never live to see the demise of Doylestown." And whenever he made a statement like that, he proceeded with the answer. And I ran that by somebody today, and he said, "Here it is. It's a county seat. It has 2 museums, a hospital, and a college. Today we have a university. We have 3 museums, a great hospital, and we're a bedroom community, so we're not dependent upon any industry."
Mm-hmm. And I mean, people really look up to your business as a pillar of this community. What are some of the things that you've done to become involved in the community?
We're proud to live here, and I went to a George school. Quakers are very much about giving back, and I'm very respectful of the opportunity my family and I have had to live here. We believe very much in making tomorrow a better day today. My daughter has some great quotes. One of them came from Peloton. "We didn't come this far to go this far. I didn't come to work today to repeat yesterday, and we're not average." So we're lucky. We have a great community that's receptive, and we can make contributions to it to make it better. One of the things we did originally, we got involved in the Michigan Museum, and I guess it was going to be torn down. But today, that was the Doylestown Prison in 1972, and not a nice place. And today, it's probably one of the finest small museums in the United States.
Certainly very well photographed. To think of that it was a prison, certainly it's quite beautiful now.
You know, it was engaging to me the other day. The chief of police called me. We donated a vehicle for their canine service and asked me to have lunch with them and to see not just his wisdom, but the fact that he's excited about living here.
Absolutely.
There's a saying I love. It's that old men plant trees whose shade they'll never sit under. I think that's a little bit of me, but I think that's reminiscent of this whole community.
Building towards a better tomorrow, always keeping that future in mind. Absolutely. I respect so much that you had this ultimate goal for yourself of wanting to own a car dealership. And instead of saying, okay, I'm going to own these service centers and I'm going to keep pursuing my dream of the car dealership on the side, you closed one door, you made a clean break, and you said, I'm going to keep going for my main goal. You didn't let yourself go down the different road.
Well, I sort of knew when I went to Bill Marsh that I just knew he was a Yale graduate going to Dickinson Law School that had to come home to save the family business. And ultimately, I always thought that I'd be the guy that did all the hard work and he'd be the brains. That time it didn't work out that way because when I came to Doylestown, we thought that I'd be a partner in Newtown and he'd be a partner here. And that's the way it started with us on a handshake.
Okay.
But on those days, Ford said you couldn't own 2 contiguous dealerships.
Oh.
So we had to divest ourselves.
Okay.
So I divested, and now the rules changed. When I became a car dealer, you had to live in the community you served, which I thought was a good idea. And so I'm basically for the old school.
Yeah. So going back to that being a part of the community thing, like you live where you work. So it's not just someone coming in for an investment, bringing in the dealer, knocking out the locals.
Well, Henry Ford, good or bad, had a lot of rules. He was a very strict, hard-headed bird, but he also did an awful lot right for America. And today, I think the Ford family, the difference I see is that Ford operates with a conscience.
Mm-hmm. And that matters.
I'm a product of World War II. I remember the fact that young men got on trains in the middle of America that had never been to the East or West Coast. And we fought a war.
And you said you were in the military?
I was in the Coast Guard.
The Coast Guard.
I enlisted in the Coast Guard. I served 6 months of active duty and 6.5 years in the reserves. And I was lucky enough that when I was going to Rider College, there was a Korean War veteran, and I convinced him to operate my service station while I went in the military, and it was there when I came home.
I was going to say, that's a really hard thing to do, step away from your business to do that. What period of time would you say that the company experienced the most growth?
We've been nipping away at it ever since we started.
So it's really been a slow and steady thing.
I think the toughest part for me was the service station, the 12 years knowing where I wanted to be and sort of struggling on a way to get there and not having somebody to guide me or help me. And I was always afraid to give it up and go to work for somebody because that's where had it not been for Bill Marsh in Newtown giving me the opportunity, I wouldn't be here today.
And you say give you the opportunity, but you asked for the opportunity. Did you make sure you put it out there? And I mean, I'm sure he didn't just come up to you and say, "Hey, Fred, I think you'd be a great partner."
Well, I have a lot of isms that people joke about. And one of them is nobody ever died at work. And I sort of believe that. Very few people do. Mm-hmm. It's always, if you look at the obituaries, and I joke about it, it's always home resting with their family around.
Right.
So we better get to work.
Yeah. And you mentioned having that vision and always sticking to it. But I think one thing people maybe overlook is having that vision always does involve sacrifice. What kinds of sacrifices do you think have made the biggest difference in being successful?
Well, now as I've gotten older, the hobbies on the outside, I want to be here. And I moved to a farm because I wanted to live on a farm, but I couldn't handle it because it was 24 minutes away, and I live 6 minutes away.
Oh, so you moved back to a farm as an adult? I
bought a farm and moved back, but it just didn't work out because 24 minutes was too far for me to drive to come to work.
Sure.
So there's an old saying, keep the main thing the main thing. Mm-hmm. And this business has done so much for me and my family, and I think our community, that it's the main thing today.
This business has changed so much over the years. How have you stayed on top of all of these changes, and what kind of changes have made the most impact in your business?
Well, I think no question about it, the internet. No question in my mind. And I'm not very computer savvy, but when the computers first came out and we got AOL, I think, was like one of the first players.
Sure.
I bought computers and put them on every salesman's desk. I think it was the first dealer in Pennsylvania. Always been a pretty good future thinker. And I got a lot of pushback. I remember one guy, I'm not going to touch this thing. And hell, I was not young. And then I went up to high school. We got classes, and every Thursday afternoon, we carted half our salesmen up there, learn how to. Then my assistant, sitting next door to me, she helped us develop our first website. And today, it's a big part of our business, and we work hard, and the competition is fierce. It is not first anymore. It's not the first dealer to have a computer on their desk. It's how well do you utilize it. About 64% of our business here comes from the internet and a telephone.
When you say it comes from the internet, meaning the sale starts on your website?
I think the average customer spends about 17 hours on the internet, and there's far less traffic visiting a dealership today because the customer's pretty far down a buying pretty well narrowed all the things out he doesn't want.
Right. They sort of know which make and model they want before they get here, or at least if they've narrowed it down.
We have to work so much harder today. And this is why we have a dress code and we have the reasons to buy a car from us. Somehow, to prevail in this business, we have to leave the customer with an experience that's memorable. That's difficult because all competition is strong today. There's nobody that doesn't work hard every day. But somehow we have to create the experience that you want to come back and deal with beans again.
Sure. One of my favorite TED Talks that I always share with all of my clients is the Simon Sinek.
Oh, yeah.
It's people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it.
That book, I think it's about 3 of them.
Yeah.
And one year he actually called me on the phone.
Oh, really?
Because we gave all our people for Christmas, together is better. And I say to my people all the time, if you want to go fast, go alone. That's not my saying. Unfortunately, I don't have a saying that hasn't been used before. And he also says, if you want to go far, go together. Mm-hmm. And I believe that's so true.
Yeah. And everything you were just saying about giving people reasons to come here. Now, you said you have to give people more reasons, but does the internet make customers come from a larger radius?
There's no question that customers come further because of the internet, but it also means that our customers that used to be our customers go further.
Sure.
So we have to work hard in our community. But I also look at when somebody drives here from Newburgh, New York, we better roll out all the carpet we have and give them the reasons they'll come back here. And that's why my home phone number sits on everybody's desk in every one of our showrooms.
Wow.
Because what we're really selling is the experience and the fact that somebody does care.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, for sure. When you're buying next to your home, your car is usually one of your largest expenses in the household. So people want to feel good about that.
The car is really, to a lot of degree, to young people, today has become a commodity. When people used to bring their trade in here and they had their children, the car had a name, and the children cried because they were saying goodbye to Betsy or
Right.
Louise. So today, I keep telling my people, we have only one thing, that the experience here has to be better than somewhere else. And the people that work here have to be more sincere, and that's not easy. It's not easy to build that culture. So,
especially when you have so many employees, to be able to make sure everybody has the same mentality.
I try to joke around, and I call this a military school. And if you brought your son or daughter here and you said, what's the end result? We said, well, Mr. Beans, the end result for your child will be, we're going to do everything we can to teach them mentally, physically, and morally how to live their lives. And if we can do that, we'll probably wind up with a better team member. We need to hire happy people
Right.
that are focused, that have good values at home. And we work hard to teach those values. We also work hard to seek out people that want to be mentored.
Sure. You want to have that positivity around you. Absolutely. What's the most gratifying thing about what you do?
Hiring someone and see them grow from within. We have an NADA Academy, which is a dealer academy, and we've put quite a few of our managers through that. And I have another boy here that applied for the job, has been with us, I guess, maybe 17 years. He's now the service director. It's nice to see people come to work for us, and maybe it's because we're beans and beans grow. We like to see them sprout and grow.
Finish this sentence. I would not be here today if not for.
I would not be here today if it wasn't for my mother, my father, and the farm.
And what is one piece of advice, if you could go back in time, that you would tell yourself at 18?
I think at 18 years old, if you can, it may be harder today, is to have a vision of what you want to do and stick to it and stay true to the task every day.
I imagine there were many times where you could have gone down different paths of different types of businesses to own. And you really, at 15, had a vision for yourself that you wanted a car dealership, and you've really stayed to that.
No matter what we do in life, we have to know ultimately what we want to do. Mm-hmm. And the clearer we see something, the better chance we have of completing it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure. Thanks for the opportunity.
One more shout out again to today's sponsor, ClickFunnels. Make sure you Go get yourself that offer. It is amazing. Head to extraordinarysmallbusiness.com/ClickFunnels. Thanks for listening. For more information about our show and our company, head to extraordinarysmallbusiness.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook or Instagram. We would be so grateful if you could help us reach more listeners. All you have to do is go to iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts and rate, review, and subscribe. It would mean the world to us. Ratings, reviews, and subscribes are how iTunes decides which podcasts are worth sharing. Help us continue to bring these stories of extraordinary small business owners to the world. By rating, reviewing, and subscribing, you're helping our small business. It's free and it takes just a minute. Thanks.